Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Jeremiah, the 21st chapter. And in this chapter, this is, basically an account of during the time when the Babylonians were besieging Jerusalem, right, or Judah, and how the current ruler at the time, which was set up by Nebuchadnezzar himself, being Zedekiah, sought Jeremiah to pray unto the Lord for them. Okay, now keep in mind that similar to the book of Isaiah, as we saw, not every chapter is in chronological order, right? So in Jeremiah 21, it's like saying, this is what happened at the time when the Babylonians came and yada, yada, yada. And then Zedekiah said X, Y, and Z. Okay. But as you keep on going, as we keep on reading the chapter, there are going to be other parts in the chapter that deal with what was happening leading up to this point. Okay. So just keep in mind that, you may be reading, chapter 19, chapter 20, chapter 21, but it's not all going to be in chronological order all the time. So this is Jeremiah 21:1. The word which came unto Jeremiah from the Lord Yahweh, when King Zedekiah sent unto him Pashur, the son of Melchiah, and Zephaniah, the son of Maaseiah, the priest. Now, remember that when we, so far in terms of kings that were mentioned, when we started the book of Jeremiah, there was mention of Josiah, right? Which we know eventually he died. And when we get to Zedekiah is pretty much, like I mentioned, the last ruler of Judah before the kingdom of Judah completely gets rent, and then that was it. In terms of us having actual kings over us, as a kingdom, that ceased after that point, right? And so you didn't have like let's say like we're back in our land and then we got a king over us, because technically what ended up happening, was once we went into captivity, obviously we were captives there, but then when we we came back to our land, it was shortly after that the Greeks came, made us captive. You have the whole history of that in the Maccabees and so on, and then leading up onto the Romans, and the Romans didn't allow us to set up kings. At the highest, you had a high priest, all right, which is why you had Herod and the Herodians that were, more so set up over us. Of course, until Yahushai came, which we understand Yahushai's position, all right, but I'm talking about the actual, an actual king with a crown sitting on a throne, in terms of our history there, all right. So anyway, coming back to the chapter, verse 2. So Zedekiah sends them to Jeremiah to go and inquire this, right? Verse 2, inquire, I pray thee, of the Lord Yahweh for us, for Nebuchadrezzar, which it's spelt as Nebuchadrezzar in some of these verses, but we know the name is actually Nebuchadnezzar, right? But in any case, for Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, maketh war against us. If so be that the Lord Yahweh will deal with us according to all his wondrous works, that he may go up from us. And as I said, as we keep on reading, you'll see what was Zedekiah and what were the other rulers' actual sentiment when Jeremiah was prophesying to them that this very moment they're asking him to inquire about was going to happen, and what the Lord told them they should do. Okay, so they wanted to wait until it actually hit. Now you want Jeremiah to go and inquire according to the wondrous works of the Lord, so he can make Nebuchadnezzar return and leave. Meanwhile, the bulk of Jeremiah's ministry has been warning you that when the Babylonians come, they're actually going to destroy this place. Yeah, man. Interesting. So when you look up here, the siege of Babylon, or siege of Jerusalem, 586. This is what was going on at the time. And I think it should tell us. Here we go. So I'll read a little bit of this. Jerusalem was besieged from 589 to 587 BC, marking the final phase of Judah's revolts against Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar II, king of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, besieged Judah's capital city for approximately 30 months. Okay, so that's what, over 2 years? The city ultimately fell in the summer of 587 BC, after which the Babylonians systematically destroyed Jerusalem and razed Solomon's temple. The word raise there meaning to level it, destroy it. And the Lord did say they would do that, right? The kingdom was dissolved and a large segment of the population was exiled to Babylonia. During the late 7th century BC, Judah became a vassal kingdom in Babylon. In 601, which this is a whenever you hear BC, think time counts downward. So from 589 going to 588 to 587, you're going into the future, right? It's like today saying 2021, 2022, 2023. So when it says here in 601, this is in the past of 587. In 601 BC, Jehoiakim, king of Judah, revolted against Babylonian rule. Despite the strong remonstrances or strances, whatever, of the prophet Jeremiah, Jehoiakim died for reasons unclear and was succeeded by his son Jeconiah, which the scriptures tell you, right, that pretty much he would die and wouldn't even get a proper burial. In 597, the Babylonians besieged Jerusalem and the city surrendered. Nebuchadnezzar pillaged Jerusalem and deported Jeconiah and other prominent citizens to Babylon. Jeconiah's uncle, Zedekiah, was installed as king. Later encouraged by the Egyptians, Zedekiah launched a second revolt, and a Babylonian army was sent to retake Jerusalem. And so it is during this Zedekiah's reign, as he rebels due to the influence of the Egyptians against Babylon, that army is sent. And when they came there, they did damage. Okay, so as they besieged Jerusalem, well, here it gets a little bit more. It says here on Tishba B'Av, July 587 or 586 BC, the Babylonians took Jerusalem, destroyed the first temple, and burned down the city. The small settlements surrounding the city and those close to the western border of the kingdom were destroyed as well, which was also prophesied. According to the Bible, Zedekiah attempted to escape, but was captured near Jericho. He was forced to watch the execution of his sons in Riblah, and his eyes were then put out, and then he was sent as a prisoner to Babylon. So in any case, let's go back to where we were. So we are at this time of that siege that lasted over 2 years, ending in the destruction of the temple and so on and so forth in this chapter. Because when we go into the next couple of chapters, you'll see that it's not, once again, this is an account of that time, but, the next few chapters would still go into some of the things that happened prior to this final conquest. Verse 3. So this is why Zedekiah is asking Jeremiah to pray to the Lord to get the Babylonians to leave, because right now they're under siege. Then said Jeremiah unto them, Thus shall ye say to Zedekiah. So go and send him this reply. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, God of Israel, Behold, I will turn back the weapons of war that are in your hands, wherewith ye fight against the king of Babylon. And what that means is your weapons are not going to help you. The Lord is going to make them work against you. It's like if you've ever seen the X-Men movies, there's one of the scenes where Magneto walks out and you have all these troops, soldiers and police officers with their guns pointed towards him. And then he basically uses his power to like grab their guns. And I think, I don't remember if he like rotated it to where it started pointing against them, or if he just like destroyed it. But it just reminded me of that. What this means is that even your weapons of war would work against you. You know, they will not benefit you. As it says, wherewith ye fight against the king of Babylon and against the Chaldeans, which besiege you without the walls, and I will assemble them into the midst of this city. What that means is they're going to besiege you without the walls, meaning they're outside, right, laying siege against you. I'm gonna assemble them into the midst of the city, meaning they're gonna make it through. They're gonna prevail. They're gonna come up in here. So just know that. Now, what's also interesting is there was no way in history that Babylon was not going to succeed, right? They had to become that major empire. That was in the which that's, you know, maybe it's a little bit into the future from here, or maybe it's around this time, or maybe a little before. But that was in the dream Nebuchadnezzar had. But that was also in the vision, right? That was showed to Daniel. So the one of the major kingdoms was the Babylonians, and they had to become a power for that to take place. The difference is, had Israel been obedient to the Lord, then it could have been that even with the Babylonians in power, you know, they might have given Israel some form of autonomy or allowed them to keep dwelling, you know, without destroying them and doing this. Verse 5, and I myself will fight against you with an outstretched hand and with a strong arm, even in anger and in fury and in great wrath. So at this point, they should have got the message that they were cooked. There's no, you're not escaping this. You're not going to keep doing wickedness. The Lord sends Jeremiah to come and prophesy to you. You torment him. And then when the thing he's been prophesying about finally comes your way, you're going to come to him and ask him, oh, pray to the Lord for us. And don't be surprised, because you'll see the same thing in this time. When the hardships come upon these people, if you want to know how they'll react, just go and read the scriptures. You'll see it. They're going to turn the same very people who are doing videos and TikToks talking, them Hebrew light, man, I can't stand them Hebrew lights. Those are the same people that are going to be turning around, if they can, trying to say, yo, they were right. Yo, if y'all can find them, yo, pray for us. Yo, it's getting crazy out here. Like, nah, this ain't even like that, man. Like, yo, put all that aside, because, yo, people are dying. Oh, people are dying. Were you not warned that that would happen? So all of a sudden it's serious now because you're experiencing it. It wasn't serious when we were telling you that you were about to experience it. Yo, my daughter died. You know what I'm saying? She starved to death, man. Yo, they doing us dirty out here, man. Okay. Well, we did tell you that would happen. You just you had ample time, opportunity. You had all of those things and you didn't listen. Now it's a big deal because you're going through it. Now we got to pray for you? No, of course not. So similarly, this is what was happening during this time that we're reading of. And the Lord said, no. He said, in fact, let me allow me to make myself clear. All right. You're not only are they going to get into the city, but all the evils I have said is what's going to happen. And I'm going to make it happen. Verse 6. And I will smite the inhabitants of this city, both man and beast. They shall die of a great pestilence. So remember that within the siege, within the walls, I should say, it was, once people start dying, if you're not careful, remember the dead bodies rot. And when they rot, they breed, they can breed diseases and pestilence and so on. Okay. So on top of the famine and on top of the lack of food and so on and so forth going on in the city, you got this to worry about. And it's all the Lord's doing. Verse 7, and afterward saith the Lord Yahweh, I will deliver Zedekiah, king of Judah, and his servants, and the people, such as are left in the city from the pestilence, and from the sword, and from the famine, into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. Meaning, those that would be left over, that survived the siege, that survived the pestilence, that survived the famine, they're going to be taken away captives, right? So they're going to be delivered from those things that I just mentioned, and so that they can be sent away as captives to Babylon. As it says, and into the hand of their enemies, and into the hand of those that seek their life. And he shall smite them with the edge of the sword. He shall not spare them, neither have pity nor have mercy. Okay. And that was the case for a portion of them, but not all of them. Now with Zedekiah, as we'll read later on, Nebuchadnezzar, because he tried to escape, he tried to flee, and he got caught. I think we read that. And Nebuchadnezzar slew his sons before him, which was like the last thing he saw, because then they plucked out his eyes. And then he was permanently blind, and then they sent him to Babylon to serve out the rest of his days over there. Verse 8, and unto this people thou shalt say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I set before you the way of life and the way of death. He that abideth in this city shall die by the sword, and by the famine, and by the pestilence. But he that goeth out and falleth to the Chaldeans that besiege you, he shall live, and his life shall be unto him for a prey. So the Lord is saying, look, you got two options. Either you choose this way and you die, or you choose that way and you live. If you decide you want to stay in this city and you have a better chance of holding out against them, you either gonna die by them breaking in and eventually just killing you, right? Or you're gonna starve to death or die by a famine, right? Because lack of food in here. Or you're gonna die by one of the diseases that I'm gonna send amongst you. But if you go out and surrender, that's what it means by falling to the Chaldeans that besiege you. If you open up them doors and you surrender, then your life will be preserved. It'll be unto you like the spoils of war. It'll be like your preservation right there. That's what you gain from this war. Verse 10, for I have set my face against this city for evil and not for good, saith the Lord. So there's no way that I'm going to allow this city to continue to stand. I've already set my decision to destroy it. All right. And your only way of surviving is going to be by way of giving in and surrendering to the Babylonians. It says here, it shall be given into the hand of the king of Babylon, and he shall burn it with fire. And he did, as we read in the secular history as well. And touching the house of the king of Judah, say, hear ye the word of the Lord Yahweh. O house of David, thus saith the Lord, execute judgment in the morning, and deliver him that is spoiled out of the hand of the oppressor. So being the rulers, execute righteous judgment. Those that have been robbed, those that have been victims of oppression due to the corrupt system in here, render justice for them. Lest my fury go out like fire and burn that none can quench it because of the evil of your doings. So you've been doing evil all this while. You've been watching and allowing this to go on. And now you expect me to deliver you. I'm about to unleash wrath upon you. Behold, I am against thee, O inhabitant of the valley and rock of the plain, which is just describing the geographical regions of the cities of Judah, saith the Lord, which say, who shall come down against us, or who shall enter into our habitations? Right? Or who shall enter into our habitation? So they're basically of that proud mindset that, oh, we're going to be good, and worst comes to worst, we're in a fortress, right? So we'll be fine. Our walls can withhold. But as it says, but I will punish you according to the fruit of your doings. So according to the outcome of your evil dealings, that's how I'm going to punish you. I'm going to recompense you accordingly. It says here, and I will kindle a fire in the forest thereof, and it shall devour all things round about it. All right. So I'm gonna, and quite literally the Lord did that. Okay. But also the fire representing just devastation and destruction, which is going to destroy, everything that they had, their structure, their buildings, all of it. Okay, and then that would be the fulfillment of the Lord's judgment against Jerusalem, against Judah, for their wickedness and their disobedience to him. And that brings us to the end of the book of Jeremiah, the 21st chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Racha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.